And welcome back to another installment of your favorite podcast.
I don't like when you say installment. This is the second time now.
Welcome back to another installment of the Pals Podcast.
I am your co-host, Danielle Galarno.
And I am Ricky Liordi.
How are you?
I'm honestly fantastic. I'm on a little bit of a bender lately, so it's not good, but I've ran the most in a week that I've ever run in my entire life.
Good for you.
I've run 4 times this week for a total of 35 kilometers.
Good job.
Pretty impressive.
It is.
Or 34 kilometers, I think.
Very impressive.
Very happy with myself.
Especially given your week.
Yeah, given my week, and it's been fairly chaotic with just not so much my day job, but just like all the extracurriculars in my life. So yeah, very happy that I've been running. A lot of exciting things happening for me in the upcoming weeks. Very exciting stuff for me.
That's like stupid.
Yeah, my life's actually wild lately. So if you listen to this podcast, there's a very good chance you follow me on social. So you'll see a lot of what's happening. I don't want to say too much, but basically going to New York and Hawaii, which is very cool. By the time this releases, I will likely be in New York in a couple days.
This is going up Tuesday.
Yeah, and then I go to New York Thursday.
Yeah.
Also, complete side note, it's St. Paddy's Day weekend while we are recording this intro, and our pals' hats have a little bit of green in them. And I saw
so fun.
I saw 4 pals' hats yesterday in Toronto.
See, I thought it was even just like I didn't go out this weekend, but like just seeing them on social media, just like seeing people actually wear the hats in like
two of the people I knew, but 2 of them I didn't. They were just completely random people. And they didn't know me either. That was cooler too. You know, if someone like knows you, like, oh yeah, I bought the hat 'cause I saw you wear it. Like, it was a cool hat, so I bought it. Like, no, these people had no idea who the fuck I was.
It's cool.
It is. It's very cool. And like, we just had another sale in Nova Scotia. Like,
yeah. I wonder how many more people today.
I'm assuming I'll see a couple more today.
Yeah.
Maybe I should take another one and wear it.
Take note.
Should I wear it today? Another pals hat?
Yeah, I literally cannot believe you didn't wear it yesterday.
I don't have any left.
I would have come back here to get it.
I know.
See, just like I get the whole concept, giving away, like whatever, but like keep yours.
Then how do I give them away?
Well, just keep one. I don't know. Like, yeah, fine. If I ever see you again.
I just keep. What I do is when I'm at the bar with people and people like the hat, and if they look good in it, I'll just give it to them. And I'll let them have it.
Everyone looks good in this hat.
That's the key. Like, remember we saw the Paris, Texas TikTok when a bunch of the servers from Paris, Texas went to go get tattoos, and then one of the girls from Paris, Texas was wearing the hat in the tattoo thing. So you just see like the good vibes only on the side. So we're gonna get more made. Devin asked, should we switch our colors for like some of them or no? Or do we just keep the cream and green until next year we switch colors?
Yeah, maybe next year. I feel like it's kind of nice right now.
I feel like it is. I feel like it's the vibe.
And like we'd really have to figure out, like I feel like our color palettes are different. And we'd really have to agree.
Cream and green was easy, and it looks so
that looks
sharp.
good. You were also in like a massive green phase when you started making those.
Yeah, I was.
Still are.
I still am.
I don't know why I said was. Anyways, who do we have on the podcast this week, Rick?
We had my buddy Nick Hill. Isn't that funny? Your pal Rick, my buddy Nick.
Yeah.
Did you notice that or no?
Yeah, I did. We talked about it.
Did we talk about it on the pod or after?
I can't remember if it was actually being recorded or not, but yeah, it's just really funny how.
Yeah, so Nick Hill, he's a mortgage broker. I think that's his official job title. But he also runs a very popular podcast, The Great Canadian Investor, I believe it's called. And it's massive. Like, you know, he does millions of downloads. Like, they hit 1 million downloads, which, to give you an idea, is so freaking big for just audio. Like, never mind what they do on YouTube and the clips and social media. Like, 1 million downloads for just the audio is...
Well, they don't even put video.
Yeah, like, it's crazy. So, Nick, great job on that.
And I think it's something different about him versus, like, other people, I think, in the industry. Like, I obviously work with a lot of them. But I think for him, he actually takes the time to do his, like, research.
Yeah.
And he's not just, like, saying fluff or what he thinks, his opinion or whatever. It's like he takes the time to actually research his content, and he won't speak about it until he's like knowledgeable in the like the topic. But not even just like knowledgeable, like very knowledgeable in the subject. And like, yeah, I just think that's impressive.
Yeah. And it's nice to have, like, this was... For our podcast, it's very conversation based, so it's not an interview, and every guest knows that, and we try and just have like organic conversations. this is the one where it was truly as organic as it comes. It's not like we were like, okay, here, we're going to tee up some questions or we're going to go into like the question vault.
Because
It just
when we have
flowed so
musicians
natural.
on or like any like athletes, it's like you know the basic questions you want to ask them. Like athlete, like do you want to go to the Olympics? What's your end goal? Do you want to have a Stanley Cup? Like you know what I mean?
Yeah. Or
Musician,
like?
what's your favorite venue? Like what was it like doing like achieving this? Him, it's like it was just like truly. I think we surprised ourselves too throughout the episode.
Yeah, and he's a great conversationalist, just great speaker, very well spoken. Honestly, Nick, you're just a great guest. Like you are very
Really,
welcome
really
to
good
come back
guest.
on this podcast whenever you want. Nick, we appreciate you. Thank you. And for those listening, this was a very insightful episode too. Like he came up with some great insights. If you're interested in real estate or even just investing in the Canadian market, listen to his podcast. We'll share the links to the episode below. But other than that, Dani, I think want to jump into it?
Let's fucking go.
To another podcaster, and you know your podcast is way bigger than ours, eh? By the way,
Yeah, is it?
Well, I think what'd you say? You did 1 million downloads?
Yeah, so we just hit 1 million downloads after just less than 18 months of
And
doing
that's
it.
just on the audio.
That's just audio.
Like that's
yeah.
actually.
Do you do
fucking
video
insane.
too?
we
So I see you have clips.
we do video. The clips, like this is where we're weak. I mean, you guys know it's like it's just another thing to like do, and like it's one of those things that like if we're gonna do it, we should do it well. But then anyway, so these are all just excuses. But yeah, we have clips on Instagram. We just use I can't remember what we use. We use Riverside to do it, and then there's like a thing that you can just put in and it like AI clips it out kind of thing.
Yeah, we use something similar.
Yeah, so our YouTube presence is weak. I think my partner's got like 12,000 followers on YouTube, and then we just post the podcast there. But like we've really been focused on like just the audio.
Well, to give you an idea, Dani's only been with us for maybe 2
I
years.
also just don't know if you want to say this on camera.
What? We can say this. So right now we put a big focus on our clips, right? Short form content. Like again, we have the podcast, which is a full hour long, and people watch the clips and go listen to the podcast. But like our podcast, I think we're maybe like not even 500,000 downloads on the audio, maybe 250,000 on the actual audio. We don't even really count the audio anymore. For now, it's just like impressions and like total views on the total the total episode. But yeah, like to do 1 million audio downloads is crazy. Like our best episode for audio downloads was this guy Johnny Orlando, who's actually coming on again soon.
I know a guy named Johnny Orlando, but it's
Actually-
definitely not the
I was
same
gonna
guy.
say,
Yeah,
crazy if it
definitely
was-
not the same guy, but great name. Great name.
Great name. So that episode's our biggest episode, and that was maybe like 30,000 like audio downloads. And again, it did a bunch on YouTube as well. But to do 1 million is like insane.
It was a big milestone for us. It was something that like, 1 million of anything. Then again, like 1 million of anything these days isn't a lot, right? $1 million isn't that much anymore. 1 million views on Instagram isn't that crazy. 1 million views on TikTok is like standard, right? Like, but 1 million downloads on something that you have to listen to for 45 minutes. Like, I don't want to sound vain here, but I did the math and I was like, okay, that's 45 million minutes. And I started doing the hour count and I was like, wow, like people have listened to us for like I think it was like
8 years or
a
something.
couple weeks. Like it was a couple weeks of like straight listening
It's a
to
big deal
the
though. Like you have to
podcast.
think about it like in perspectively. Like anything that you do personally, even though someone else has done it, it's a big milestone for you personally.
100%. And it's funny. Growing up, I wanted to be one of two different things. I wanted to be a talk show host or a race car driver. I love Formula One. Grew up Italian household.
Ferrari.
Of course.
Wait, what's your last name?
Hill. It got changed in the boat over. That's
Okay.
a whole different. That's a whole different story.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't know you were Italian. I thought you were like Munjake.
No, I got a nice Nona. She's not with us anymore, but and actually Nicole and I are going to Italy to my family place there in like
Unreal.
2 weeks. Yeah,
Sorry, where's your family from?
Rome,
What
Yeah.
city?
like
in
downtown
Rome?
Rome.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Piazza Mazzini,
Wow.
like downtown Rome. Like they've like I got an aunt who's still a nun in Assisi.
Wow.
Two of my uncles live there. Yeah.
Fuck, small. I have family from. It's a small town just outside of Rome, 45 minutes outside of Rome, called Capenna. And they own a little pizzeria there.
Love it.
So
Okay,
maybe
well,
when you go,
we'll
I'll
go.
send it to you. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
It's a good little spot. Like
Yeah.
we go there and like again, it's a vibe when you're there because it's a small town, right? But
The small towns there.
But that's what like Italy is about. It's a bunch of small towns. Anyways, sorry. Continue your story.
Yeah, where was I?
Talk show or
So I wanted to be a talk show host
F1.
or a race car driver. I now drive a Hyundai Elantra. So you guess which one I'm pursuing at this point. Yeah, I just
you do have a good like talk show host voice.
I appreciate that.
like I'm like listening. I was like, hey, like I don't know if that's gonna be weird to say, but you do.
I've gotten that a few times, and it's obviously a wonderful compliment. Voice for radio, or voice for TV. What is the
Well, voice for radio, but like people say that if like someone's like really ugly.
Exactly, and so everyone says that to me, and I'm like, okay, I'll take it. Like I'll whatever. But I've just always had like a passion for connecting with people, and then it's funny. My dad was a teacher for like 30 years, and I was like, I never want to be a teacher. It's the worst. Whatever. Like, can I swear on here?
Yeah.
It's the worst fucking thing ever. And now I've in so many ways become a bit of a teacher, and it's been awesome, and I get to come do cool shit like this with you guys who've got, in my eyes, like what you guys are doing is way cooler than what I'm doing. Yeah, we've got numbers and we're doing something different. Ours is really like education focused, and like, we've done 175 episodes now. We've had maybe 15 guests. Like we don't have guests on. It's like we take reports. We have data-driven, analytical stuff that we like stuff that like real estate investors and people that are interested in real estate don't want to go and do themselves. We'll go and do that work for them, kind of thing.
How did you start it? Did you start it as a way to grow your business, or did you like start because of an interest in it?
Great question. Yeah. So it's a funny story. So my partner Dan Foch and I actually DM'd him. That's how we met. I slid into his DMs. Classic.
Fucking great.
That's how every great couple
21st,
meets,
yeah, I was gonna
right?
say,
Like
21st century love
men
story.
or women, I don't care. You better be sliding into DMs if you want anything these days. He had a real estate deal that was kind of like close to where my parents lived at the time. I was like, hey, look, I know the neighborhood. We actually went to the University of Guelph. I'm like a year older than them, so we never crossed paths, but like, that we were in the same bars at the same time doing the same stupid shit. Anyways, we ended up connecting, and he this is like early COVID days. He was doing these things called like co-video chats where he would like have other people on YouTube and they would just like chat for like an hour kind of thing, but there was no real structure to it. There was no real anything to it.
Kind of like when like Clubhouse became a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Back then, I actually, that's weird you said that, because I remember literally someone like being like, "You got to get on this," and I went on a couple Clubhouses, and then whatever happened to Clubhouse.
It honestly like had a really big boom and then
like
dropped.
died.
Completely. I
It
think
was
everyone.
like that other one too. What was that picture thing? Where you took a picture at a certain time and for a certain day?
Oh,
No, Be Real. That's
Be
actually.
Real.
But
Yeah,
Clubhouse people went on for whether it was social or business, and
was
to have
a lot of
like
business, I feel
networking.
like.
It started with
Yeah.
networking, and it kind of like boomed. But I think, and it was during COVID, perfect time. But I think it's because of COVID. Like people wanted like a way to like socialize without actually being able to see them in person. But as soon as you were
desperate times, desperate measures.
But as
that
soon as people
point.
were able to see someone in person, they understood the value of.
It was basically like LinkedIn, like
Just
social.
Facebook, yes.
Yeah. So he was doing that, and again, I love people, I love talking, etc. And he's a really intelligent guy. So we kind of teamed up, started working on a few deals together, and he was like, "Look, like I've got this like thing where I like interview people." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm down. Like let's do it." Didn't really give him a choice, and so we rebranded and we called it Brick and Mortar. It was a great little podcast. It kind of lived in relative obscurity online. A couple hundred YouTube downloads and that kind of stuff. We made some great friends, got some deals out of it, but it never really went anywhere. And as you guys know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to do something like this, right? People just think, oh, you sit around and talk to someone, but no, there's booking the people, there's finding the space, there's editing, there's the editing software, there's the equipment.
It just also takes time.
It's just time, right? And if there's no ROI or ROT, return on time, then why are you doing it, right? So we did it for several months, and probably almost a year, until it got to the point where we looked at each other and we're like, look, both of our businesses were starting to kind of, go this way, which was great. And we looked at each other and we're like, you know what? We've got 3 more interviews lined up. Maybe it's time to stop it. It's been a good run. Had a ton of fun. Maybe it's time to stop it. The next week, we get a call from this podcast network called The Canadian Investor. They're probably the biggest investing business podcast in the country. They get like 250,000 downloads a month. Crazy. We get like 80,000 downloads a month.
So, and 80,000 is huge, by the way, like huge.
Thank you. And they reached out and they're like, look, we talk about like stocks, bonds, capital markets. Everyone in Canada is obsessed with real estate right now, right? Real estate, mortgage rates, inflation, housing prices, investing. We don't know what we're talking about. We're looking for podcast hosts. So they reached out to Dan, and because he's huge on Twitter. He's got like 35,000 followers on Twitter. And he was like, yeah, I've got a guy. I've got my co-host. Like, you don't need to go anywhere else. And literally we solidified it like on one phone call. Like they called us to be like, hey, maybe. And then like we pitched them and closed them right there. And then like the real work started. So then it was like 2 months of prepping, and like, man, I'm telling you, the nerves that we had for the first like we don't do it like you guys do, where we sit down and like chill and talk and
no, you have it all planned out.
Have a brony. Like we had it like ours take like hours of research.
Yeah.
So like for the first episode we went and we called it How Canadian Real Estate Performs in a Rising Rate Environment, which is exactly what's happening right now, which is exactly what everyone wants to know about. So we went back and did a shitload of research on every single recession that had ever happened in Canada, what the inflation was at that time, what the interest rates at that time, and how it affected home prices and consumer sentiment and all that good stuff. And we launched, and we had no idea what was going to happen. We launched at number 1. We stayed at number 1 for like a month. It was fucking crazy. And I don't think we've ever left like the top 20, maybe top 30 in business in Canada. And it's just been an amazing ride since. That's like a year and a half ago, and I've done a lot of different businesses. I've had a lot of startups and that kind of stuff in my life, and this is like by far my favorite thing I've ever done. Like if I died tomorrow, I'd want people to remember me for the podcast.
And that's actually so. Yeah. And like, okay, to give people listening context, the Pals have cracked the top 10 for lifestyle in Canada once. Again, we're 4 years now. We're 260 something episodes. We've been doing this since January of 2020. We've cracked the top 10. Again, lifestyle is a different niche than business.
Totally.
But we've cracked it once, and that was like crazy to us. So when you say you've been in the top 10 like this whole time, like that's insane. And
Appreciate
like, it's
that,
completely
man.
different because again, like yours is very research, like focused. Like people don't just casually listen to yours. Oh wow,
that's why we keep them.
Welcome to Toronto, everybody.
Yeah. People don't casually listen to your podcast. I'm sure the people that listen are there to listen, to learn.
You're going for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, like to be honest, like one of the reasons we started because I had listened to a podcast in the States called Bigger Pockets, which was like the biggest real estate podcast in the world, and I just wanted to create something that was like real estate school. That if I listened to it, I would leave smarter, and stuff that like you're not like. I went to university, I went to college, like I did both, and I've learned more by listening to podcasts and having conversations and finding mentors and coaches and that kind of stuff. And I was like, I just want to give back and do that for everybody else, like for like the me's 10, 15 years ago. You're not trying to age myself here, but for the me's 10, 15 years ago in their like early 20s that are like, I'm trying to figure shit out right now. I want to invest in real estate. I want to start a business. I want to understand how the economy works a little bit better. And that's just kind of what we endeavored to do. And we put a lot of work into it. So it's really great. You guys know how it is to see the fruits of your labor come to fruition. Like it's a beautiful thing. And
it's so tough because sometimes you have those episodes where like this episode, it felt so good. It was like, at least for us, like, again, it's different, but we'll be like, that conversation was good. We had so much fun. And then you release it and you spend the time like making the clips, marketing it, promoting
and like probably like some of your best clips because you're like, oh, we love this episode.
Yeah,
this is going to be so well. And then it comes back.
Yeah. And the clips tank. You get like 500 views and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, this episode was amazing. We had so much fun. And the episode does like 2,000 downloads. And you're just like, across all platforms. You're like, what the fuck? Like,
bro,
and the clips are like, again, now we promote the clips. So like a good episode for us now is like, like 50,000, 60,000 total impressions.
Amazing. Yeah.
And like, we'll do something like this episode fucking smashed this, killed it. Boom. Like, you're like 25,000. You're like, Danny, we got to promote this more. Like, what do we do? Like, all right, let's fire up some more clips. Like, we got to get more people. And you're just like, fuck. But then again, sometimes like you've got those ones where it does well on its own. You're like, all right, this fucking did well.
It's, you know, it's so funny. Content is such a fickle thing to figure out because like we've spent money a lot. I mean, you guys have too, right? We've spent a lot of money on producing like high level content, like really like sexy stuff, and it goes absolutely nowhere. It's literally like my lowest viewed stuff on Instagram. And I mean, Ricky, you got a huge Instagram following. I'm like a tenth of the size of you, but like I got some stuff that slaps on there, and the stuff that slaps is literally the stuff that I'm like, here's a cool idea. I'm just gonna use green screen and do like a little bit of like investigative journalism. And like one of the ones that's slapping right now is I did something called like The Great White Short, which is a play on The Big Short, one of the best movies ever. If you guys and anyone listening doesn't know that movie, yeah. So The Great White Short is there's a bunch of international banks and American banks that are shorting the Canadian housing market. And I went and kind of did this, and we did a whole episode about it, and I kind of did, like, I'd already done the research, so I was like, you know what, this would make a really good Instagram reel. And I did it, and it's still, you know, it's one of those things you just post, and it's, every day there's people like, and I get follows from it and all that stuff, and it's great. But I did that in, like, you know, I guess the research took me some time, but I did that whole thing in, like, 20, 30, maybe 30 minutes, right? And a couple of retakes because I'm not, you know, too slick on camera sometimes. But I did it in, like, 30 minutes. And then there's the stuff where you go out and you're spending hours or thousands of dollars and hours, and you get it back and you're like, oh, this is sexy stuff, this is good stuff, people are gonna love this, and you get 64 likes on it and 300 views, and you're like, what the fuck?
And TikTok's the worst. I had one clip where I heard a sound and I was just like, oh, this fits my niche. Like, I'm recording. I did it like as I was going to bed, like literally just like in my bed. I'm like, it's kind of shit. Maybe I'll just put it on, like, this when TikTok stories just came out. I'm like, maybe I'll just throw this on a TikTok story to do something on stories. I'm like, fuck it. I already made it. Let me just post it. Go to bed. And again, this is something I did in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I think it ended up doing across all platforms like over 10 million views.
Crazy.
And again, 10 million views equals like 10,000 followers nowadays. Like,
yeah.
the views are directly related to the follows.
Yeah.
And then I've had TikToks where I'm like, I put this together. I've got my nephew in this. Like, I spent hours doing this.
I
it's
scripted
his birthday.
it. Yeah.
I got all the scenes.
So
I've got the right text, the right song. This is trending audio. 10,000 views. And I'm like, this a baby. This a cute fucking baby too. I look good in these. All the clips have good lighting. The text works. I have a hook.
People hate babies,
I got
obviously.
everything. I'm just like, what? And then I'm like, post a stupid audio. And there's so many times where my audio, I'm like, I caught it at like 10 views or 10 like people use the audio like 10 times. And that's like, I made that original guy like millions and more views because of me. Like right now I have a TikTok. It's like some EDM remix. And I heard it. I liked it. I made a TikTok like the multi-purpose friend. It went viral on TikTok. When I posted it on Instagram, I'm the first person to use that sound.
Nice.
So my sound's the original, even though it's not my song, right? Yeah. I think it's got like 800 like remakes using that audio already. So now I'm gonna reap the benefits for that for the next like however long the song keeps hitting for. But on TikTok, like this dude's smashing because of that TikTok I made that went viral. And you're like, fuck, like sometimes I hate it. Like again, you can't hate it because like again, it pays for me to do this shit, it pays for us to do this shit. Like, but
like bro, it gets to that point again, and going back to content being like just a fickle bitch sometimes, because it's like we do a lot of research for the podcast too, you know, like we'll go and like run our own numbers and all this kind of stuff. And this just happened recently, where we had run numbers for realtors per province, per sale. So we like had like one column is how many realtors per person there are in the province. So like in Ontario, there's like in the GTA, there's like one realtor for every 79 people. Like it's insane. We've got more realtors per capita here than anywhere else in the world.
I want to buy a house right now, and I don't know what friend to pick because I'm going to get yelled at by every single one of them.
Hey, guess what? My girlfriend who's sitting outside just got a real estate license too. So now I got another one.
Like I'm actually scared.
Yeah, you're gonna piss off a couple people no matter what.
It's crazy. So, anyways, we ran all these numbers, and it was funny. Like this was like this reel started slapping, and then I had a couple people send screenshots of other people that weren't really in my network, but that are in real estate across the country, do it, and they just cropped my name out and stuff like that, and didn't give me any credit. So now I hate to be this guy, but like I've gotten in the habit of sometimes when I create something and my face isn't in it, I'll put like a little watermark, like my name in it, kind of thing.
Well, just give the credit.
I've even still seen people crop that shit out or like get rid of it. I'm like, man, people go to lengths to like just take credit for shit that isn't theirs. It's
okay. Again, mine isn't research based. A lot of times, like I'll think of, and my niche, a lot of the dating stuff is either exaggerated truth stories that have happened to friends, or like sometimes they're my story, but it's a little bit of a character too. And I'll have times where I'll say something like cheeky, funny, and like sometimes I even use ChatGPT to come up with some ideas for content.
Yeah, you got to do it.
Or if I have a good one-liner that happened to me, and I'm like, it's not cheeky enough. How do I make it more cheeky? I'll use ChatGPT. Yeah. So one time I made a video. It went viral. A whole bunch of people are using my audio. And then I'm scrolling through the timeline. Didn't I see some fucking dude use my word for word exact same TikTok, but not my sound? Didn't use my voice.
You feel flattered.
No, I'm pissed off. It's just like no credit, no info. I do it all the time.
Yeah, but guess what? People do it all the time, and at that point, you're just gonna have to say, "Okay, I'm flattered by."
No, say inspo or credit or something.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I'm flattered. I'm flattered by you taking my idea.
See, I'm rating them.
Because people think it's good. People think it's good enough to use.
I'm physically in between you guys right now, and my opinion lies in between that as well. Because like at first I was pissed, but then you're like, okay, you know, like imitations, like the whatever flattery, exactly. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well that's nice, but like. You know, this stuff takes work and creativity, and it's just like, you know.
And it's not like, again, if you want to use it all, no problem. But like inspo from so-and-so. Like I get it all the time. Like if I copy someone's idea, I'll be like inspo by so-and-so.
100%.
Or credit this person. Maybe not in the original bio because you don't want that, like you don't want that tag to be there because you might not go viral or whatever. Yeah. But I'll do it in the comments and I'll pin the comment or something. Like, hey,
but that used to happen a lot on TikTok, especially at the beginning when it just started kind of blowing up during COVID. All the dances, these big TikTokers in LA, or even the sounds, whatever, they would repeat them. And then people would be like, oh my God, that's not your dance. You took it from someone else. So then eventually people started having to tag the credit thing. But it's like, I'm sorry, like, is it that original to like...
To do the...
I mean, if you came up with the dance, it's fucking original.
It's flattery. Like, flattery. Charlie D'Amelio did your fucking dance. Be flattered that she did.
Did he?
Did she? Not mine. No, I don't dance. I got no dancing skills. I can't fucking dance.
Like, be flattered. I don't know. It goes two ways. Because I get it. You take time, effort of your, like, your skills and your work and whatever. But at the same time, what are you going to do? You're putting the content out there for millions to see. If this goes viral, the whole fucking world could see it. So what? One person's not going to take it?
So you don't think, Dani, if you had a piece of work or an art or something that you did and someone ripped it off and didn't give you credit for it, you wouldn't be mad?
You're telling me in school, every single paper you wrote every single thing you took on any of your papers, and you didn't cite it at the bottom.
No, he's using ChatGPT.
No, we're way too old for ChatGPT.
I know.
No, but again, there were original ideas. I wrote them, or you have to cite them.
Yeah, but there wasn't one that you missed that you took from someone else?
Really, no.
Like it happens sometimes. I was supposed to just think it's like, what can you do? You're putting your content out there for people.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to come up with like original stuff these days, right? So like, and I mean like, look, I'm not gonna lie, like I don't think I've done any like outright stealing, but there's sometimes I'm scrolling through, you know, I'm not a big TikTok guy, but like I got to start trying to do it just because, you know, growth on all platforms kind of mentality. But I'm scrolling through Instagram and I'm looking, I'm like, that's funny, or like. That's really informative. Like I could put a spin on that would be different enough, but like it's just all about finding inspiration, I think. You know what I mean? Like
when it's not a direct ripoff. Like again, my TikTok with this multi-purpose friend. I didn't come up with the word multi-purpose friend. I saw someone.
Oh, actually, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah.
Someone wrote like I saw a TikTok where it's just like, oh, someone called me that multi-purpose friend, and I was like, what's that mean? And I just like the word multi-purpose friend. I was like, ooh, that's I like that tag. So I took it. I don't even know who the person was that came up with that.
Yeah.
But I used it. And I didn't rip the guy's idea off. I made a montage multi-purpose. So right now people are using mine, which is cool because I have the audio and I'm cool with it. But then it's like, okay, like, did I rip this person off? Not really, because I just ripped off a word. It's not like I ripped off a theme.
That's why it's so like subjective. What are you actually ripping off?
Yeah, but when someone rips you off like word for word or like
word for word maybe, but if they're using your idea as inspiration, I can just feel
ideas and inspiration, yeah, it's fine.
No, but like I can see this as an example because I feel like at like work, my boss does blogs all the time, and like sometimes he'll take infographics that he finds online, but we repurpose them. We usually keep it at the bottom again, the watermark, whatever. So you see where the watermark's coming from, but his blog is directed to like our clients or new clients that he's looking for, and he puts his spin on it. But again, like how, like most of the things you do want to share with people, it's pretty like you're just regurgitating information in your own words.
Yeah, and the thing is, the more
You're totally right.
the longer we're here, the less there's going to be space for original ideas.
Like how,
100%.
Like think about movies nowadays. Like every movie now, the concept is basically a rip off
It
from
was
something.
it was a good movie in the 70s, 80s,
Yeah,
or 90s.
and they just ripped off the idea.
Yeah.
best example, this is like a rom-com, but Friends with Benefits and No Strings Attached. It's the exact same movie, two big actors in both movies. Natalie Portman and Ashton Kutcher in one, and then Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis in the other. The exact same movie,
pretty good
same
movies,
plot.
to be honest.
Yeah,
I hate that I've seen them
Are
both.
you a rom-com guy?
Listen, I got.
I know you've both seen them, so both don't lie, because I know you've both seen those
Yeah, of
movies.
course you've seen them.
But they're all the exact same.
But do I watch do I'm like, oh, the new rom-com's out, I gotta watch it?
I do.
No, but that's you, Danny.
Listen, I'm in a loving relationship, and on a hungover Sunday, a rom-com's a nice little.
See, like our fans outside, that's the kind of conversation I would love to have. I love you guys.
Yeah.
Like,
Guys that
they
don't
were
care
like
about real estate
speaking-
event scene.
Yeah.
They were speaking my language.
yeah,
Danny's like, can we end this? Because I'm gonna go talk about Vanderpump Rules outside.
No.
Right
yeah,
now.
exactly.
I talk about real estate every single day. Half my clients are real estate.
Yeah.
They're all, a bunch of them are real estate investors.
If you're Canadian, you like real estate. That's pretty much
You almost
the.
have to though.
Man, it makes up literally like I'm gonna misquote this, but like 30+% of our GDP. Like almost all activities in Canada, from like an accounting perspective, a tax perspective, a legal perspective, they all roads lead back to one thing, and it's fucking real estate. And it's actually a really, as a guy that lives and breathes real estate, I can tell you it's actually a really horrible thing.
The sad part is I was literally talking about this today. About 30 years ago, 40 years ago, you had two young people with normal jobs making normal average income. They could team up and buy a house and have a normal mortgage, and after 30 years, they would own a house. Nowadays, detached like home, like 3 to 4
nice
bedroom
house.
home.
What you think about when you're like, I want a house, like that white picket
Now
fence,
you have two people with normal jobs. The average salary in Canada is like 60 grand a year, I think.
66,
66, thank you. You have two people making 66 grand a year. You're not even buying a fucking condo. Like, it is tough to buy a fucking 1-bedroom condo in the city, in the GTA.
Yeah.
Which, like, that's so sad because 30 years ago, like, you could literally buy houses.
Oh my God, I think about what like my parents bought their first house for, and my mom always compares because, again, we're not a big real estate family. But she's always like, oh, like when I was 28, I bought my first house.
What are you doing wrong?
I said, and she goes,
What are you doing wrong?
What's wrong with you? She goes, I was married, blah, 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 had my first house, all this shit. And I'm like, Mom, like, have you seen the difference? What you bought the house for versus now? I could maybe buy, like, that square over there for what they bought the original house for.
Well, Nick, I'm sure you have the stats behind this. How many Canadians... Actually, let's use people in the GTA specifically because our podcast is mostly GTA focused or Toronto focused. How many Torontonians do you think could afford a house without support from mom and dad? Like, what would you think the numbers?
It would be like, it might be as
Single
low as like
digit?
single digit
Yeah.
numbers. Yeah. So there's some crazy stuff that came out a few years ago, kind of at like when interest rates were essentially zero and money was essentially free.
The good old days.
The good old days of 2.5
Before
years
7%
ago.
mortgage rates or 5, whatever they're now 5.
Yeah, well, some of them are at 7, and when you get into the private space or the B space or any kind of non-chartered bank space,
Double
they
digits.
get. Yeah, I mean,
Insane.
I've literally seen like such crazy horror stories in the last little while, guys. It's like it'll make your head spin. Like
Same.
people paying like $18,000 a month for like not a mansion. Okay, like you're like, oh, $18,000 a month. This place got to be sick. No,
I had a client.
this is like a place in like Burlington.
No, I had a
Old
cl-
Ontario.
No, I
like
had a
literally
client.
detached home in
Literally.
I had a client. I was just doing their tax return today.
Are you allowed to say this?
Yeah, I'm not saying any like information.
This is off the record.
We'll
edit this out.
Online.
A client, it's like literally considered like a non like census metropolitan area. Like that's how like in the boonies it is. Over 90,000 in just interest.
Absolutely
That's not even
insane.
in-
Absolutely
like-
insane.
And the original, like they bought land, then they built on it, and just their interest, like it's just, I can't even just. I looked at it today, and I'm like, like from an accounting perspective, like we always try to give our clients advice, especially when it comes to like their personal taxes, is that like you never want your rental income to be flagged by the CRA. Because
no, like God no.
So you want to keep it as reasonable, your amounts you're claiming, whatever. But interest this year, like everyone's at a loss. Like everyone, like these people had sold a property this year and they are getting a refund. How are you getting a refund when you're selling? You're supposed to be paying capital gains tax on this. And they're not.
Yeah, it's the whole thing's just so. And again, this
and
is
it's
like
legit. So it's like I'm not gonna say no to them. Like it's as legit as it gets. CRA wants to review them, I will give them the documents.
There's non-stop stories like that. Like this isn't like, oh, there's a few outliers or like a few bad apples or a couple people in tough situations. Like no, there's like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people that are struggling right now. There's a lot of investors and we talk a little bit of shit about this on our podcast too. The difference between investing and speculating, and the amount of speculation that fueled the market. I mean, like
I have had so many clients that like are trying to get into the space and like they were doing.
Tell them to come talk to me.
And like amazing, like has a great job, like actually doing well for himself.
I know, and that's
he
the worst
bought
parts.
all this property. Like he just bought a shit ton across all of Canada.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and then the interest like just started getting higher and higher. And now he's sitting there, and he's one of my favorite clients. And he looks at me, he's like, "Yeah, I'm fucked." I was like, "Yeah, you are." I was like, "I love you, but you are." He was just ahead of himself, and like he just thought he could do more than he could, and absolutely screwed.
The most common mistake, and there's an I believe it's the S&P that has a fear and greed index. Okay, so literally it measures what's probably the most important thing in the market is consumer sentiment. So how are the three of us feeling? Are we feeling like, whew, I could go spend some money today, or are we feeling like, or we feel, yeah, maybe Ricky is, but are we feeling?
I'm okay. Yeah. Thank God TikTok. I love you, TikTok.
Yeah. Or are we feeling like, holy shit, like things are not that great right now, things are getting worse. So when COVID was hitting and when interest rates were super low and inflation was low and everyone was getting free money, guess where that index was? It was like smashing the bottom of the greedy side. Smashing that bottom. And everyone was out there
spending money,
buying things that they could not afford. And it's so hard to see that a lot of those people that went out and thought they were investing in real estate because they bought 6 pre-construction condos, or they went and bought a bunch of rental properties, and they never did the most fundamental thing that you have to do in investing, which is run your fucking numbers. Okay? If you run your numbers at a 2% interest rate and they work, they fucking better work, because 2% is literally nothing. I know investors that run their numbers at literally a minimum of 10 to 12%. That's what you're paying on your debt. Okay, because investing in real estate is based off of leverage. That leverage is tied to debt. That debt is tied to an interest rate. And if that interest rate changes drastically and you haven't prepared for it whatsoever, you're going to end up in a dire situation.
So the interesting thing is too, and again, I'm not an expert by any means, but I remember when I bought my condo. I bought my condo in 2019. So I'm due for an upgrade soon on my mortgage.
What do you call me?
So
you probably know like 8 mortgage agents.
Yeah, well, for me it wasn't that. It's just I remember buying a thing. I'm not worried about this right now because I know for the next 5 years I'm good. I budgeted this. Yeah. I know what I know. Okay, well, after 5 years, where's my mortgage rate going to be? Because I'm locked in at 1.99 right now. So I'm fucking chilling. I am chilling.
Yeah.
I did fixed. I didn't do
variable.
I did fixed. I was good. 5 years I was chilling.
Yeah.
1.99. Well, you got to think about. In 2019, was I thinking, hey, what's, is mortgage rates going to be crazy high? I wasn't thinking they were going to hit 5 or 7%. But I was like, you know what? If we are going to be higher, am I ready for it? Can I afford my mortgage in 5 years, in 7 years from now, if it goes higher? Yeah, I could. But you got to plan that thing. You got to think, okay, well, I'm going to be making a little bit more. Here's where I'm going to be at. Here's what I'm expecting to do. Because if you over leverage yourself and get screwed, like think about how many people lost their deposits on homes right now. Because they couldn't afford their mortgage rates now.
Dude, there's devastation, and there's blood in the water, and in my opinion, and this is a very unpopular opinion, it is going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
You think so?
100%.
So that was gonna be one of my next questions. Like, what do you forecast for the next year or two? Right? So and before I do this, one of my best friends got very lucky. So he lost a lot of money in crypto, a lot of money. But now
Everyone
You
is.
can lose money in crypto?
Yeah,
What?
A lot of people are,
So-
and I would not suggest investing in crypto.
So, but again, if that's what you do and that's your thing, there's no problem with that, right?
Yeah,
he
for
lost
sure.
a lot, but now he's riding the high back up.
Yeah.
He also he had a nice home that he bought 10 years ago, condo, probably 700 square feet, give or take. 10 years ago, 700 square foot condo wasn't that expensive.
10 years ago, so you're literally in what,
Yeah,
probably
look.
200,000-300,000?
Maybe a little bit more than that, probably 4 or 5. Let's say probably when he bought.
I'd say
Not even-
probably
that was
less
four.
than 5.
Let's say 4.
Yeah.
Let's say 4.
It'd be 3
Well,
to 4.
now that's
probably,
700 square foot condos, give or take 700.
Yeah.
1,000 square foot in the
Yeah.
city. Well, didn't he just get lucky that he got a townhouse, like 1,200 square foot townhouse? Someone defaulted because again they couldn't pay their mortgage. So not only did he get that deposit, which 1,200 square foot, 1,200 square foot townhouse, you have to probably put 10% down, give or take. Well, now he just basically saved that 10% when he went to go buy it. Now homes are a little bit lower than they were 3 years ago, 2 years ago. So he ended up getting, I think, a 1,200 square foot townhouse for like 800 or 8 and change. It's like that's unheard of right now. Unheard of right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a
got
question for
lucky.
you.
Uh-oh.
Personal
Here
question.
we go.
I have money for the deposit. I have everything set out. Should I buy right now if I can?
There's a podcast episode about this that we did called "Is Now a Good Time to Buy Real Estate?" It's one of our top listened to ones.
When did it come out?
Not long ago, maybe.
Okay, so it is
maybe.
recent.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
for
So
sure.
I'm gonna go back and listen to it. But
So
I
go
would
back and listen.
I want to hear it right now.
No, you're gonna hear from me. So here's the thing.
I'm a single
You-
woman.
you-
I'm 28.
You're single? Are you
Yes.
looking, Danny?
Shut up! I'm asking a question.
No, that's a good question.
Like
too.
I'm gonna say like all my facts.
Okay, so here's my response to that. So I'm a mortgage agent by trade. I'm a real estate investor. We own about 50 doors.
This is my first property.
This is your first property. Okay, so my first question would be, why? Why do you want to buy right now? And once you answer that question, my next question would be, how long do you plan on staying in that property? And then the third thing that I would point out is that you need to understand that your primary residence is not an investment. You can make money off of it and you can have principal pay down, but in theory, an investment yields you money.
Okay, so I'm sick of paying rent.
So you're sick of paying rent, okay?
So I
That's
moved.
that was question
That was
one.
question one.
Okay,
so I
you're-
moved home.
So you're sick
for
of
the
paying
first
rent.
time since high school.
So as I
And-
just said, own lots of properties, and I will rent as long as I can.
Yes, but now my answer to the other questions. I'm hoping that in a couple of years I have a boyfriend and I live with him, and then I can turn this property into an investment property.
So let's say that the theoretical plan or the plan
The
plan is to get this property, live in it.
Live in it for, like, the
live in it
next
for the next
3 to 5
1 to
years.
3 years, 5 years,
I'm giving
whatever.
myself time.
It's not gonna be 5 years. Come on, look at you. Come on,
Nick,
Ricky.
wishful thinking, buddy.
Ricky. Come on.
Okay.
We can't gang up on her like this.
Yeah, Nick, you're an honest guy. I appreciate that.
So I mean, yeah, like that's like the standard thought, right? Like, let me buy this. I'll live in it as like a single person for a little bit because it's going to be like a 1-bedroom or 1+10 kind of thing. I get a girlfriend or I get a boyfriend and they either move in or I move into their place. Someone's got a place, vice versa. We rent the other place out and then, we go and buy the dream home. First of all, let me be very clear. The dream home is not the second fucking property, okay? The dream home is now the 5th property. Like we do not live in our parents' day and age anymore where you get the dream home by the second or third property. It's a really tough question to answer. It's something that is very subjective. It's something that you need to understand the risks of. And it's something that really comes down to, in your situation, I'd say, what do you really want? It sounds like you want it. So I'm absolutely never have been I'm not a real estate agent, but I do a lot of assist on a lot of real estate transactions from a consulting point of view, from an investment standpoint, and from an end user standpoint. But I talk more people out. I don't think I've ever talked anyone into doing a deal unless it's a really good investment. I'm like, you're going to do this, or I'm going to buy it myself, or I'm going to give it to another client. I talk people out of doing deals all the time because there's an obsession with real estate in this country that is unhealthy. And I mean that in the best way possible, because if you look at other places around the world, Europe, even America, but let's focus on Europe because America's too close to home in some ways. People are there. People like young people like us are not like, I need to get a fucking property, or I'm a failure, or I need to get a condo, or I need to get
I
a
don't feel that. I just feel like I was sick of paying rent. Like it was just
For sure,
going.
but
Like it was like, what was the point?
But okay, so you don't need to answer this, but like let's assume your rent's $2,500.
Okay.
And your condo that you're going to move into, which you could probably rent for between $2,500 and $2,800, your condo is going to be probably, your mortgage payment's going to be in and around that, plus your condo fees, which are like the number one deal killer in Toronto, because condo fees are absolutely ridiculous, plus all the other stuff on top of it.
Property taxes,
maintenance.
Property tax almost equals your maintenance fees.
Like
I did the math.
It's crazy.
So I'll use real numbers here. I bought my condo. Fuck it, I don't even care. I'll give exact numbers. So I bought my condo in 2019 for $730. My real estate agent, Kia. You know Kia?
No.
Kia Cavosi?
Okay,
Great fucking dude.
Yeah.
So we had bid on probably 6 or 7 different properties, and he always said he'll never let me outbid. He'll never let me bid more than I can and more than it's worth.
Good real estate agent.
Great real estate agent.
Yeah.
So my max, after doing the maintenance fees and everything, you got to include that in your budget. So I did it for this place we were looking at. My max was $730, $725. I went to $730. It was between me and another guy. He actually gave me 10 or 15 from his commission to get this deal done. So it was ended up being $740 or $745. My mortgage at 1.99% came out to about $2,500 a month. My maintenance fees is $600 a month. My property tax on the year is another 6 G's.
Yeah.
So basically double my maintenance fees. So when you do the math throughout the year, I'm $3,500 a month almost.
Yeah.
Which is an insane amount. You could rent that place, and then never mind utilities.
Okay, but that's also nothing right now compared
You
to
got to remember
everyone else.
utilities. You got to remember maintenance. Maintenance. You got to remember utility. You got to remember internet. You got to remember parking. All those other things that would be normally on top. You could rent a place like mine for probably $2,500 a month, right?
So where is the cash flow? So if you go and rent your place out, you are now losing $1,000 a month.
But also on the flip side of it, if you want to save, let's say you don't know where you're going to be in 3 years. That's why I always rented as a kid. Well, not a kid. In hindsight,
Still a kid, Ricky.
Yeah. When looking back on it, I regret not buying when I was younger because I had the money. It's just I didn't know where I wanted to be, and I didn't think the real estate market was going to go like this. But I remember my dad always say, Ricky, just buy something. Even if you don't like it, just buy it so you have something. You have the cash, just do it. And I said, no, I don't want to buy it because it's so much work and this and that. But what do you think about it? Right now, if I go back, let's say I'm 22 years old, 23 years old, and I have a little bit of cash and I could buy a place, I wouldn't buy right now because the rent I could get and not knowing where I'm going to be in the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to buy to potentially move and then you're going to rent out that unit.
Okay, so is the census here that I stay home or rent?
It depends what you want. For me, I wanted to buy because I was like, I know exactly what I want now. My home right now, minus the natural.
But this is going to be my
situation-
home. Like I want this to be my home
So where do you want to
until
live?
it's not.
Where do you want to live?
You're not moving out of Toronto anytime soon.
Where do you want to live exactly?
I have 2 options.
So
What
so you
are
don't know
they?
exactly where you want to live.
You don't have to.
Oh, I don't care. Yeah. Either
Yorkville or
I work
Mimico?
Mimico. No, not Yorkville.
Okay, Mimico
I need to
or-
be close to the highway, like any from here down.
Like Liberty-ish.
I
not
hate
City
Liberty.
Place,
I
yeah.
hate City Place.
Yeah, okay, good,
So
yeah.
to give
So
you
it has to be like somewhere
Somewhere in
around.
Queen West, like where we are right now.
Dani.
is
As long
the
as I have
best.
access. I work in Oakville.
Okay.
So I
you need
wanted to
highway
be because I used to
access.
live in Yorkville.
Yeah.
And highway access, it was taking me 20 minutes just to get down.
I
And
know
I was
that,
wasting.
yeah.
I'm wasting
Yeah, 100%.
hours. And like right now, I'm living at my family home in Richmond Hill. So
So-
I feel like Mimico is perfect for me.
So let me ask you this: do you want to own real estate as an investment, or do you want to own real estate as your home? That is the main distinction that
think my
people need to. Okay, then my advice would be yes, you should
But
buy.
also, you're saying I think.
No, I know it's my home.
Okay, so if you know, then I agree.
I want my home.
Yeah.
I want to build a home right now.
Then yes.
Yeah, then you should buy. In my opinion, I'm not an expert. When I bought, I was like, I gave my realtor, Kia, I gave him a 1 kilometer box that I wanted to live in. And I said, I need at least 1 bedroom plus, and I need 1 bathroom plus. And I said, here's my budget. I want to be south of Adelaide. I want to be west of University, east of Bathurst, north of Front. So think about how small that is.
Nice.
And then to make matters worse, I said I want a terrace. Not a balcony, a terrace. I
Ooh.
didn't like long, skinny things. I want a space where I can go and stretch.
Yeah, the balconies in Toronto are such bullshit.
I've known you for 2 years. I think I've seen you in your balcony once.
But I have it.
But he's got it.
But I have it. So I just bought an ice tub. I'm putting my ice tub on my terrace.
Nice.
So my terrace is the size of this room, 100 square feet.
It's way smaller than this room. I'm sorry, I was
So
just
maybe
on
not
it
way
on the
smaller,
weekend.
a little bit smaller. What's
No,
this
Ricky,
room?
it's half the space.
It's not half. It's 100 square feet, Danny.
This is
10
not
by
100
10.
square. It was half the space. I was just on your balcony.
This is probably like 250 maybe.
It's half the
200
space.
This
square
box is
feet.
250.
Yes.
200 square feet. Yeah, this is the size of like an office, dude. Square
Ricky,
feet
this
is
is-
it's not a lot,
You don't have.
Yeah.
Like, this is half your.
but still 100 square foot balcony. Most balconies.
Terrace.
Sorry,
Balcony is
my
60 square feet.
apologies.
So I have a balcony as well on the other side.
Balcony and a terrace.
Balcony
Wow,
and a terrace. I
you're
got
really
that.
living life over there.
Fuck, like I got in at 2019.
Come on, yeah.
No, but that's
Free
what I
real
said.
estate back then.
I gave my realtor, it took us about 6 months. We lost about 8 offers, like offer days we lost.
Yeah.
Like some offer days I didn't even get a call back. And you win some, you lose some. I got mine and I was very happy. And now I've been there for almost 5 years. January 13th, June 13th, I'll be 5 years.
Nice, congrats.
So I'm happy. I bid it. Even if nothing happens, and at the time I was dating a girl, you never know what happens, maybe. And I always said I could have a baby there, up to 3 years old. I could have there,
Yeah.
because I have the den and I have a powder room. I could turn the den into its own little nursery, whatever they're called.
Bedroom.
A nursery for babies. Isn't that what they're called?
Yeah.
It was my bedroom. But
Oh yeah, now it's Danny's bedroom. Now the ice tub currently lives in.
We'll still call it a nursery, I guess.
Yeah. So that's my thing. It's like I knew exactly what I wanted, and I think that's like you said, a lot of people want to get into real estate because that's the mentality. But it's like, know what you want.
Why?
If
It
know what you want.
goes
If you
back
want
to
something-
why.
If you want something to live in and this is your home and that's where you're going to be for the next 3 to 5 years, then buy it. If you're like me when I was 22 to 27, where it's like, I want to live downtown. I want to be downtown because I love living downtown.
Rent.
I just want to be downtown. Rent.
Yeah.
Because if you got shitty neighbors or your building corp sucks or your building maintenance sucks, like, okay, again, I'm going in hindsight, but if I knew what I knew about my building now, when I moved in, I would have never fucking moved in.
Yeah.
Because we had shitty plumbing. So we had a major flood. We've had 3 major floods in the last 5 years. Property taxes went up. Not property taxes. Maintenance costs went up.
Yeah.
It's become a big shit show. We got hit with an assessment, which was a nightmare. $5,000 assessment for my unit, which, like, $5,000 of unexpected cost
That doesn't
is big money.
Yeah.
I have something to tell you after
Post
about that.
tax money, $5,000.
I have something to tell you after that, like about that.
Yeah. So it sucks. So, but again, I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew I was going to live there for the next 3 to 5 years at least, and I was ready. My brother and his partner, or now wife, they got together. She had a condo. He bought a townhouse. They turned her condo into an investment property while they lived in the townhouse. They both sold their units together to buy their dream home. So this is home 3 now, and it worked.
So there you go, right? I mean, like that's when it works out.
Yeah.
But like it's fucking hard to do that right now. And
Well, and they both won on their homes originally. Like, she bought her home, 10 years ago in Liberty Village for not next to nothing, but again, for a little bit. Now it's worth it was worth a fortune when she sold the townhouse. They got it at a good time. They sold it for good money.
so that's the other thing. Do you guys think that we are going to see the increase that we saw in real estate over the last 20 years over the next 20 years? Because if we do, your condo, Ricky, will be worth $2 million.
Yeah, I don't think so. I hope so.
It's like if that's the direction this country's going with real estate, we are totally fucking fucked. With
Yeah.
and I apologize for that language, but
no, buddy.
it's gonna get like if that's where we're going, it's bad. Like we just experienced
Not even the last 20 years. Think of the last 10 years.
10 years, the last 3.
Yeah.
If we like we
I feel
literally
like
just
3 years has been okay. I feel like 3's been okay. I feel like
it's been
17, 18, 19.
Well, no, you had
It
to.
was-
You couldn't count 20 and. Like,
but 20, yeah, but that's where things got exponentially crazy, right?
Yeah.
2020, 2021, 2022, nothing made sense. Like, why were there places like detached or like semi-detached places in Brampton or Markham or these like GTA suburbs that were going for $300,000 or $400,000 over asking price?
It doesn't.
Fucked.
$300,000 or $400,000, guys. Like that literally doesn't make any sense. And again, going back to the Canadian obsession with real estate, there was just a Royal LePage study that came out that says over the next 5 years, 1 in 4 Canadians, so 25% of Canadians, plan to invest in real estate. Well, that's great, but we don't have enough homes for them to invest in real estate because we are 3.5 to 4.5 million homes short of where we need to be to house the million plus new people that we brought in last year. Now, out of those million plus people in the last second half of the year, so the last 2 quarters of last year, 500,000 new people came in. I want you guys both to take a guess. How many of them, give me a percentage point, were skilled trades that we need to build the houses?
I'm going to say less than 5%.
Around that.
0.03%.
So I'm in construction, my day job.
I started my career in construction.
Yeah.
So like, there's so many problems that like you got to be really careful with real estate right now. And for me, what I advise a lot of people when they say they want to get into real estate, that's my first question is, okay, well, why do you want to get into real estate? What's the end use of this place? Is this for you to go and live in and start a family, have your boyfriend, your girlfriend, like Nicole and I live together and it's great. We rent. And, renting does come with some uncertainty. We're like, fuck, is this landlord going to kick us out next year? Or like, is our rent going to go from, $3,400 to $3,700 next year?
You can only raise it 3%, right?
No.
2.5.
2.5, there we go.
That's only for buildings built below or before 2018.
Yeah.
Buildings built after 2018, you can go and raise it 100%. So again, my whole thing, and this is where I have my investor hat on, that's a lot of my clientele, is what is the purpose of the unit you're looking at, right? Is it to live in? And if it's to live in, then yeah, go buy it.
Because that's home.
Exactly. That's home and that's different. If it's to make money off of and invest and that kind of stuff, if that's the mentality, then yeah, sure, buy. But go and buy in Northern Ontario. Go and buy in fucking Winnipeg, where I just got back from because we're doing a bunch of projects out there. And my Uber driver the first day owned 6 properties. And he had bought most of them in cash, and he was buying them for between $95,000 and $125,000, and they were hitting what we call in real estate the 1% rule. Whereas if you buy something for $120,000, you're making $1,200 a month, and that is impossible in Ontario and in
sheds are going for like $500,000 in the city right now.
Well, I saw a big boom over the past couple of years out east.
Essentially,
like tons of people.
Essentially, Atlantic Canada and the prairies. I mean, Calgary used to be like the promised land. Now it's overbought, and there's probably going to be some people that disagree with me, but it is. Edmonton, Winnipeg, Regina, Saskatoon, and essentially most of Atlantic Canada. That's the only place where you're going to get cash flow. There's a few properties, a few markets that I'm not going to say because I invest in them. In Ontario, Cornwall and Sudbury, primarily Peterborough. There's a lot. You can still make money in some of these markets, but you've got to be a value-add investor. Gone are the days where you can buy a property, sit on it, and look at it for 6 hours, 6 days, 6 weeks, and all of a sudden capital appreciation's up and rent's up.
And it's just like tax too. Like tax on something. Let's say you buy a property. So a couple years ago, when I heard about the rumor about the 413, I was like, okay, let me look at land in and around that area. It was already expensive, but I called my real estate agent friend. I was like, look, can you look at land there? I'm like, I can just buy a couple acres. It doesn't need to be directly along the 413, but like off branches of it.
Yeah.
And you can just kind of map it out and see, okay, well, the 427 is going to kind of line here. It'll meet the 413 there. So in this bubble, because that means subdivisions will go there. It's like, okay, cool, I can afford the land, but I can't do anything on this land for 10 years, and property tax on this land, it'll kill me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can afford the land. I could buy an acre. I could find that acre and I could afford that, but I have nothing coming in on this for the next 10, 50, who knows how long, depending on who's in government. Because right now it's 413 is happening. In 4 years it could completely change and say, fuck the 413, and then I gotta sit and I gotta wait for the government to transition again. Well, then what do? You gotta sell it.
But think about everyone who bought land back in like the 90s and stuff.
we've
Think about the richest the richest Italian families.
Yeah.
How did they get rich?
Yeah.
In Canada.
No, but like I
banking.
even love like friends'
think-
parents who came like they immigrated here, bought a piece of land out in Milton. Government bought the land off of them for like millions of dollars, and they're just sitting here like laughing. They're like,
think about the
I
richest,
don't know, here,
the
have
richest
it.
Italian families in the city. The Danis, the Gastrises, the Cortolucci's. Those are the first two that come off the top of my head. Those are some of the richest Italian families in this region, and they're all land. All land.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, they do other things as well. They have
No, but that's-
But that's where like
That's
the
where it
true
started,
that's
though.
where the
Bread and
true
butter,
wealth.
like-
That's where
Think
the wealth
about,
came
like-
from.
And again, some of these men, they just came off the boat from Italy in the 40s or 50s.
Worked their
They
ass
worked
off for a
hard.
couple of years.
They did something. They bought a piece of land. Then they bought another piece of land. Then somebody came, bought the first piece of land off them, and they tripled their money.
Yeah.
They went and bought 3 more pieces of land. Think about Milton. Milton 20 years ago was fuck all. It was
Literally
really
nothing. Couple farm fields.
Fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Now Milton is it was the fastest growing city in Ontario until maybe 5 years ago or
Yeah.
something.
I think until like 2 years ago.
2 years ago,
Yeah,
there you go.
literally, yeah.
And you could have bought a home there
Yeah.
10 years ago for 100K.
So here's the last piece of advice. So if you take that same principle, okay, and you go to the prairies or you go to Atlantic Canada and you start doing that same thing, right? You start in the real estate, we call it land banking, which is just so happens to be the same name as my debt brokerage company, Land Bank. A little plug right there.
We love that. We love
Yeah,
that.
a little plug. Yeah, it's okay. So if you were to go and do that same kind of stuff, you can go and buy land in, the outskirts of Saskatchewan and Regina and Saskatoon for what we in Ontario and people in Vancouver would look at as like literally giving it away. Okay, you can go buy that stuff. Now, why would someone do that? Okay, well, because the same guys that we're talking about, all the Italian families that made all this money and any other family that made all this money, it took them 20 fucking years to cash in on that or more. Okay, so again, real estate is a long-term play. Now, we know that immigration is the bull case for Canada. When I say bull case, bull versus bear, right? Like that's why people are thinking that Canada is going to be okay after all of this shit. So when I think it's some crazy stat, like 70+% of immigrants, when they come to Canada, they land in southern Ontario. They land in the GTA. Very quickly, they realize it is very hard to create a life here. It's very hard to create a life, even if you've been here your whole life, right? It's just very hard in general. So what do? They move. They don't move to the Miltons and the Markhams and the Guelphs. They move to the Winnipegs and the New Brunswicks, and there's the sprawl across the country. And then they settle there. And then after 3 years, it's on average 3 years it takes someone to buy a property after they've come to Canada. So then they'll start buying properties. So if you want to have that same play, you got to go where you can still buy land for not exorbitant amounts of money, and that's in the places I just mentioned. But again, don't expect to make, like, the other thing about real estate is people have been so spoiled in the last couple of years because everyone's made obscene amounts of money. I knew people that had no business making hundreds of thousands of dollars, whether they're real estate agents or real estate investors or mortgage agents. They made hundreds of thousands of dollars. They had no business doing it. Some of it might have come with some bad advice, or bad consulting, and now we are where we are, and those people have to deal with their shit, and a lot of the people that invested have to deal with their shit, and now we're going back to real estate investing principles, which are it takes time, and just like with any good business, it takes time to build it up.
Very well said.
Thanks. That's after 2 beers as well. So
Man.
Peroni, sponsor me. You heard it here first.
No, but I think the biggest thing too is that like also people forget that there are people you can talk to and like consult with someone before making big decisions like that.
Well, see, my rebuttal for that would be the unfortunate thing is there's way too many people that you can talk to.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people, and I'm not going to shit on them because I get my business from them and I work with a lot of them, but a lot of those people don't really know what they're doing. And that's part of the reason that we're in the predicament we are right now is ignorance is bliss until the bliss runs out and interest rates go up. And then ignorance is like, holy shit, what the fuck have I done? And I've been on some really unfortunate
my
calls.
thing is like when you're sick, you go to a doctor. You ask a professional for help. There are people in the industry to go to and talk to.
That's literally why we started the podcast.
And
I was literally just going to say his podcast.
And I
That's
think
like
that
literally
brings
why
back to,
we
like, your
started it.
podcast and
Yeah.
like going to certain episodes. Even you said you just had an episode on literally the question I asked.
Yeah.
But so many people make decisions on like conversations they have with people they think are doing well or they think know what they're talking about. Because you can be a great like conversationalist and like being able to like speak, but do you actually know what you're talking about? So I think it's kind of like really doing, again, your research. That's why you have your...
I think
you do your research.
I think one
Due
of the
diligence.
big things is, and we're ending that, we're hitting that point too. I do want to, we got to start to wrap up, but
Let's wrap it up.
I think one of the biggest things is people forget that there's a risk with real estate. Everyone's just like, oh, I'm
but there's
buying
a risk
something
with
that's
everything.
tangible. No, but you're like, I'm buying a home. It's a tangible item. It's like, well, yeah, it's tangible. And yeah, in 20 years, there's a very good chance, 99.9% chance, that house is going to be worth more than it is now. It's almost a certainty. Well, the problem is, are you going to make it to 20 years?
That's
with all
it.
those other costs.
That's exactly it, dude.
Like, you know, okay, I can afford this home today. This home's $1 million. My mortgage is whatever. I got to put down 10%. I can afford that.
But can I white knuckle through a recession?
But if we hit a recession and I lose my job, how much money am I going to have saved up after I got to put that 10%
Doesn't
down?
matter because someone else owns that home in 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Not you because you couldn't hold on to it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, and then it's like, well, then what if you have to sell in a recession? You got to get your ass kicked on that. Like, that's what, like, it's tough, but I don't know.
My parents always said growing up, if I can't pay for it twice, you can't afford it. And you always have to make double the money.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And that's like literally how
that's such a classic boomer thing to say, but
It
it's fucking
is.
true.
But
But
guess
it's
what?
true.
My
It's
parents
true.
haven't had a mortgage in 20 years.
Exactly. Hey, listen, there's a
And there's a reason why.
Yeah. I remember thinking, and my parents told me this, like, Rick, when you don't buy a house that your whole life is in it, because you don't want it. You don't like being at home. This is to sleep.
Yeah.
You travel a lot. You go out. You spend money drinking. You spend money partying. You spend money traveling. You spend money on this. You spend money on that. Do you want to spend all your money on a home?
But even with anything.
And again, some people, they want to buy a home because that's their everything and that's all they're going to do.
For
And
sure.
They're going to spend every living day there, and they're going to work out there. They're going to eat there. They're going to stay there. They're going to movie night there. They're going to have the kids there, everything. For me, I'm like, I hate being home. I fucking hate it. So yeah, I didn't want to spend all my money on home because I don't want to be there.
So you should be renting and buying properties in Winnipeg.
I think, man, I'm talking. Maybe I'll do some with you. I got a little bit of extra income from TikTok. Maybe
A
we'll
little bit
fucking.
of
Maybe that's your idea this year.
walking
Maybe
around
that's where you're going to
scratch.
invest.
I said I don't. We'll wrap up with this. I'm not a big guy in stocks. I don't like stocks. I think they're.
Dude,
I have them.
Most people are shit investors with stocks.
So I got my guy at work, like my RRSPs go with him, and that's my savings plan, my retirement plan, yada yada yada. And I go to my bank and put my $5,000 in every year in my stupid RSPs, and I do that, and I got that, and that's my when I'm 65 or 70, got that money.
We'll have something, yeah.
When I want to invest this TikTok money that I make every year, and I don't deserve it, I don't have it. I shouldn't have this money. I want to do it with something fun. So last year I bought my pickleball team. Last year.
Yeah,
that was all from the TikTok money from the year before.
I love it.
My TikTok money paid for that.
I gotta join that, by the way.
We're gonna get you playing sometimes. So now this year I got money from last year's TikTok money. All right, I'm gonna buy a facility. I'm gonna invest in a restaurant or a nightclub or a fucking bar. Or maybe I'll fucking buy a part of a house in Winnipeg.
Let's
Who knows?
go.
But I want to do something that's like. I can talk about it. It's fun.
Yeah.
Because I put money in crypto. I don't enjoy talking about it anymore. Like, it was fun to talk about it a little bit. I got a couple shekels in that stupid space. I just don't enjoy it. I just bought something to have. So it's like, I want to do something I can talk about and have fun. So pickleball is my current thing. We'll get you out there.
Talk about.
Anything else?
No, I was going to say, this fucking flew by.
I know, it went by so
This was
quick.
40 minutes, and I'm like, there's so many more questions. Like, we'll have you on. It's nice when you have someone that, like, again, you podcast, you get it. You're a good speaker. You're a good conversationalist.
that.
It's easy. Like, there was
This
no
has been
one
a
point where, like,
fantastic-
look, I had a whole bunch of questions that kind of queued up where I was like, oh, if we get to a spot, I got these ones queued up because they fit the conversation. And we always say, we don't have any preset questions.
Yeah.
We have key talking points. I don't think the conversation just went. I don't think
I didn't hit any of my key talking points.
I was just like, it went.
And I also just came up with questions now, but I'm like, you know what? We're wrapping up. It has to.
And my problem was too, is like he was talking so many times. I'm like, I want to interrupt him to ask a question, but I do that all the time, and I'm trying not to because it ruins our fucking clips. Somebody will tell a great story, and I see myself in the clip, and it's like, I'm like, Ricky, shut the
What
fuck
about
up.
this? Yeah.
Like, you invested in Winnipeg? Well, have you been to Winnipeg? Like, fuck, I ask a stupid question just because I'm curious about them. So I'm trying to not do that as much. But fuck, Nick, you're great, buddy. Thank you. No.
If people
you
want
for
to
coming
find out, oh, my hands are really sweaty.
Same. Was that? Can we get that out?
Yeah. If people want to find out more about you, your podcast. Actually, first off, if they want to find out more about your podcast, where can they go? What's it called? How can they find it?
The Canadian Real Estate Investor. It's literally on everything, anywhere you get podcasts. I'm most active on Instagram at my buddy Nick. So if you add me, we're automatically buddies. And
Is that my pal?
Well, that I originally
My
told. I was
buddy.
like, "Your pal Rick, my buddy Nick." Like it fucking
dude,
it
that's
works.
what everyone introduced. Everyone used to, oh, you got to meet my buddy Nick, my buddy. And then I was just like, yeah, that's pretty fucking good. So I just took it like
That was
10
like
years
us
ago.
when we started the pod. So me and George, we used to call each other pal all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like pal.
There you go.
So then I was like, used to be Ricky's Travel on Instagram, and then I stopped traveling during COVID. So I was like, hey, well, you're pal Rick. I'm like, kind of like it, but the problem is it looks like you're Patrick, because the elk like
Or Paltrick.
Yeah, like
I know people like all the time like, oh, how's
Oh.
your friend Patrick doing?
It's like,
I said,
oh,
The
the
guy
excuse me.
don't know. The guy.
Don't know
yeah.
him.
Yeah. But Nick, appreciate you coming on, man. This was awesome.
Thanks,
this was
guys.
insightful.
Yeah.
We'll definitely do this again. Maybe like
I'd love to.
like
Yeah.
summertime, late summer, because
See what the market's doing.
We've got the squad outside too, which is nice.
Yeah. They'll probably
But,
get Nancy.
Appreciate you. Yeah, guys, if you made it to the end, we appreciate you guys. Give Nick a follow. Listen to the podcast if you're interested in real estate in the city, actually, or in Canada in general.
Yeah.
Give it a listen, and then chime in on Dani's thoughts. Let Dani know if she should buy a home
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see
or
what
if she
the
should
audience
rent.
says.
Let's see what you think.
I'm buying a home. Next time you come on the podcast, I will have my own.
We love that.
We'll take it.
Anyways, guys, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Cheers.
You like to drink and to smoke to take away the pain. And I don't remember all of my mistakes and every high. Got alone with no one thing. You're not alright.